Hello, thanks for stopping by. This is Beamrider for the Colecovision, released by Activision in 1983. Originally, this one was created for the Intellivision, and then it was ported to a few different other systems. I never played this one before, and now that I'm playing it, I'm actually curious to track down one or two of these other versions. The Atari 2600 had a version, and the Commodore 64 had a version as well. I'm going to have to compare these. Now, I didn't even know this was a game, let alone there was a 2600 version. I did manage to find some images online of the cartridge, and I have to say, the Colecovision cartridge looks way cooler than the 2600. Check out these badass 1980s science fiction graphics. Nice. So, Beamrider is actually a really interesting game. It's a fixed shooter, where you pilot a ship and you ride along these beams to shoot at enemy ships and try to make it through the level. This one actually feels like it would fit in with the movie Tron, and it also feels a little bit like the arcade game Tempest. So, we have two decent 80s franchises that are kind of mashed together a little bit, sort of, and it works. It works, it really does. You pilot a ship at the bottom of the screen, and you move left to right, moving along these beams. When you press your trigger, you fire your basic offense, and then you have a secondary button, and that will launch a torpedo. But you don't get a ton of torpedoes. This is something you're probably going to learn pretty quick. You're going to want to save your torpedoes for the end of the stage. Basically, the top left of the screen, you have a number, and it's the number of ships that are on the level that you have to defeat. You position your ship and you move back and forth, and you shoot your primary fire, and you're hoping to intercept these ships. Those ships, of course, are going to be moving around. They're going to be firing at you, of course. So you have to pay attention and dodge. You also have to pay attention to whatever other items come down the beams towards you. You have to navigate around those. Most items that come down the beams, you don't want. You want to shoot them or dodge them. You can shoot and destroy most of the ships with your standard fire, and some you can only destroy with a torpedo, but you really should save your torpedoes. Everything else on the beams, for the most part, you should dodge. You get points for everything you destroy, and when you just dodge stuff, you stay alive longer. At the end of the level, after you defeat all the ships, there's going to be one large ship that cruises along the horizon at the top. This is the one you want to use your torpedoes on. It'll get you some good points if you can get it. So, with the Colecovision, compared to other systems of the era, we have more colors available in this game, and there's just more oomph behind the system. You start with a different selection of colors than what you actually play with. It's this sort of introduction area at the beginning, something you normally don't find in a 2600 game. But the Colecovision has more capabilities, it just does. You're at the basic starting screen, and this is supposedly your home base, and you choose the level using the keypad that you want to play. You can level 1, 2, or 3. Then when you want to start playing, you press up on the joypad. You're this little yellow ship at the bottom of the screen, and you get this little cool swirly energy thing going around in front of your vessel. When you press the fire button, it launches the energy down a beam. It only travels about 80% of the way up the screen, though. This is important to know because the end boss is all the way up the screen. So your beam cannot reach him, but your torpedoes can go all the distance. This Colecovision game actually also has a pause button. You press 0 on the gamepad. What an excellent feature. I'm so happy it's there. It's great. When you die in this game, if you're hit by an energy alien beam or if you run into some sort of refuse on a beam, the front of your ship caves in. It seems minor, but it's totally different than what I expected. Normally, I would expect a game of this era, there's going to be an explosion of some kind. That's like every Atari game ever. The ship explodes, but not here. Your ship caves in, and then you're off the beam, and you get a shot of outer space and all these stars moving around. It's pretty neat. Now, as you're flying along the track shooting stuff, you can also hold down the fire button, because this game was awesome enough to give you auto fire. I love it. I can only imagine how terrible this game would be, especially using the Colecovision garbage controller. To have to press that button over and over again, it would be insane. Now, one of the things that you don't need to dodge on the beams, every now and again, there's going to be this little yellow icon that it just appears and starts coming down towards you. You probably don't want to shoot it. It kind of looks like your ship, because it's an extra life. These are always useful. If you accidentally shoot it and it becomes debris, you can crash into it, so it's like a double whammy. Not only do you destroy an extra life, but you lose one. So you have to be careful with the auto fire. You don't want to destroy a life that you could really use. Just pay attention to everything as best you can. Get ready to dodge a bunch of stuff. I think this is an enjoyable game, especially for the price. I only paid a few bucks for this one, which is always a bonus. It's clearly from the same era as the Atari 2600. This is early 80s stuff. But you can certainly tell that this one was kicked up a notch. The colors seem better, the sounds are a little clearer, and I think the gameplay itself, this isn't something I think could be easily replicated on an Atari. At least not in the exact same way. It's also one of those games that doesn't seem to beat you down really fast. Playing this game on level 1, I seem to manage getting through 8 or 9 minutes of gameplay, which is great. I know there are a lot of games that you pick up and you press start and you can be dead immediately. Naturally, if you kick it up to level 2 or 3, it's more difficult coming out of the gates. There will be more enemy ships, there will be more stuff flying around on the beams, just like you'd expect. There's no music in this one, but we get standard spaceship-type sound effects you'd expect from games of this era, although probably a little more varied than I would normally expect. I think they're sufficient. Things work just fine here. Overall, this one seems like a real decent game for the Colecovision. I don't have a huge backlog of Colecovision games to get through or to compare to even, but I really find myself liking this one. It's pretty decent. Well, that's all I have today for Beamrider, for the Colecovision. Thanks for stopping by to take a look, and I'll catch you on another video.